Well, hello, everybody, and I want to welcome you to our chat, our panel, as we just get ready to go. So, my name is Marshall Shore. I'm also known as the Hip Historian, and doing this through the project called the Arizona LGBT Plus History Project, which is a collaboration between Arizona Pride and ASU libraries. For this panel, we're really going to be exploring the idea of how LGBT community here in Arizona is going virtual and building that community. So we're going to have a great conversation. So we have David Boyles, who is here from Virtual Arizona Pride. We also have my friend Kelvin, who is here with Social Distancing Hotline, as well as Jeremy from RipplePHX. And Joey will be hearing from a little bit from Phoenix Neighborhood Pride, which is happening tomorrow. So basically, with the History Project, the goal is to try and document as much as we can in terms of our history and the fact that we are in this monumental moment of what's going on in our community. And so just let you all know that the intent for this is that it will wind up, ASU has started doing a COVID-19 archive, and this will be recorded, and a part of that, it will also be archived on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Once we get all the speakers on, I'll ask them just to consent to that again, so that way it can move forward and be kind of part of that history of just kind of showing what we are doing right here within our own borders of Arizona. Because as many of you may or may not know, we were the first large pride to wind up being canceled just earlier this month. And so it's now scheduled for October. And so quickly you saw community forming around that. And then we also have with us Michael Soto from Equality Arizona. So happy. So yeah, so it's going to be a great conversation. So what I'll do is I'll just bring on each person individually, and well, we'll just kind of start adding to the crowd. And so first we'll start with David and have him kind of talk a little bit about what did his group do, kind of what were they looking at doing, and they'll just kind of add as everyone goes along for the conversation. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what we're going to talk about. So all right. So hello, David, and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about how did you arrive at the decision to start organizing or being a part of Virtual Arizona Pride?
Yeah, so that started with, I'm one of the organizers of Drag Story Hour Arizona. And, after, everything was shut down, we had events canceled here that we had planned for Drag Story Hour. Some of our sister chapters around the country started doing live streams, really soon after, a week or two after everything happened. And then it was actually my friend Shannon Black from Free Mom Hugs Arizona. She's the one who reached out to us and mentioned that they had, talked about the idea of doing this virtual Pride because Phoenix Pride, the announcement had been made that it was being postponed to the fall. And they just were like, what if we do, something online that, didn't really think about what that would look like, brought us in, and, we thought it was a great idea. And basically the idea was Drag Story Hour, we're moving online. All these other organizations are having to think about how they're going online. Performers, drag performers, musicians, we're all starting to do these Instagram live events and things like that, with their in-person events getting canceled. And it was as simple as, let's get everybody together and let's do a whole bunch of events on April 4th and 5th when Pride would have been happening and try to create some of that festival atmosphere, the community atmosphere that we would normally get at Pride, but do it online. And, that was pretty much it. We, it was about 2 weeks before the weekend of April 4th and 5th. We reached out to a bunch of people, different organizations, held a big Zoom call, and then, organizations stepped up. We had over 20 nonprofits, over 20 performers. We ended up doing 57 total events over the course of the weekend.
Wow, that's great.
But it was really, we were kind of the, instigators, had put a schedule together, tried to cross promote and things like that. But it was really all the individual performers and groups came to us with like, here's what we want to do. Some of it was, Instagram live performance. Some of it was We'll do a educational panel in Zoom. We had all different kinds of events, different platforms, and we were really just trying to bring the people together, promote the events, and it was all the performers and presenters that actually, did all the work.
Okay, great. So did you expect any pitfalls or were you on the lookout for anything? I mean, I know it's like, especially with Zoom, there have been talks about people basically getting hijacked or things like that.
Yeah, that was, I think, the week before Virtual Pride, that was when you started seeing these stories about Zoom bombing and stuff like that. ASU, we had apparently had some incidents in some of our classes. I teach at ASU as my day job. There have been some incidents with our Zoom classes. So yeah, we definitely worried about that. We definitely worried about, sort of tech issues and stuff like that. We, followed a lot of the precautions that Zoom and, the various platforms had put out. We let everybody know to be on the lookout for those things, for trolls, for comments, whether it's on Zoom or Facebook or whatever. And knock on wood, it was, we really didn't have any issues with it. I think it worked out well. I think we were just, on alert for it and ready for it. And yeah, that was kind of the biggest concern going into the weekend. And I was really happy that that did not become an issue, really.
Right. All right. So next up, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Calvin with Social Distancing Network. Hello.
What's up, guys? How you doing, Marshall? Thanks so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, that mic is so crisp and clear.
We got to do it up over here. So,
so Calvin, if you can tell us a little bit about kind of what you and Taylor are doing.
Okay, so we have the Social Distancing Hotline, and the Social Distancing Hotline, honestly, is just been this this awesome social experiment. It's kind of been a social experiment that we started drunkenly one night right when this all started about 45 days ago. And we kind of went, we were having a good night Sunday night, and I was like, hey man, everybody's home. I'm an entertainer. I've been doing the live streams before live streams were like, the thing to do, the only thing to do because everybody's stuck at home. But so I was just like, let's go live, and we'll do an a Miss Cleo throwback. Miss Cleo had the show, the Psychic Hotline, and she was like, call them and all, you know what I mean? And so we did the whole play on that, and we just started having fun. And then what turned into what was just like a fun night connecting with friends and stuff. We found there was a need for it. There was this need for people who were stuck at home, who wanted to have a voice, and the calls became more and more organic, and this thing kind of just grew into something that was much bigger than us. And so that's how we came to have the Social Distancing Hotline. It's all about bringing the community together and providing a safe space and a platform for people to speak their truth, to speak about COVID-19 from their perspective.
Right. All right. Very good. Next up, we have Jeremy coming online. Hey, Jeremy.
Hello.
Oh, and look at you wearing the official T-shirt. Oh, such a branding queen. Oh, my gosh.
Like it's the uniform every day.
We're all falling into that what's the uniform of the day.
Right.
So, Jeremy, so tell us a little bit about what you guys over at RipplePHX are doing, which I think is really cool.
So we had just kicked off in January. We got funded through the National Library of Medicine this year to do a 1-year project for the Latinx community. And so we had worked with 8 community members, 8 amazing people from our community to build this project. And really we had just started. So we had just kicked it off at Stacy's in February. And ironically, the whole point of Loteria, like a big piece of it was social media anyway, of education and things like that, a social media campaign. But like ironically, one of the big pieces of it is we wanted to bring the community together once a week. And that turned funny when we couldn't come together. So really like we had to turn online really to keep the funding and to keep the project alive. And so like within a week or really a couple days, we pulled together, took the experience that we had been bringing to Stacy's for just a very short time and tried to replicate that online. And it was tough. It was tough. It was quick. But actually, we have more attendees. We have a bigger reach. We have people watching from California. I think Mississippi's as far as we've gone east. So it's pretty cool. We have about double the attendees that we would typically have at Stacy's. Now we're distributing HIV test kits also during this live game. And we're still able to play like a Loteria bingo, Mexican bingo game with our community. So it's turned out really cool. It's really cool. And it keeps those 8 entertainers with some type of income still coming in. So we're proud of that.
Nice. Yeah. I also love the fact that it's primarily in Spanish.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
I honestly don't know half of what happens during the show.
I don't either, but I love watching it. So
yeah, I think it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I agree. It is a beautiful thing. All right. So let's go ahead and bring on Michael from Equality Arizona. Hello, Michael. Oh.
Hi, Marshall. How are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm doing well.
Thanks for joining us. So tell us a little bit about what Equality Arizona is doing in terms of going live or virtual.
That's a great question. So we're a statewide organization, and we're a community organization that's dedicated to the well-being and safety of the LGBTQ community, as well as the civic engagement. And so a lot of the work that we do is normally in person. So this this pandemic has definitely presented both a challenge and an opportunity. And so we went online early because we wanted to make sure that our events weren't encouraging the spread of the pandemic. And so we shifted all of our meetings. We have chapter meetings across the state every month. We have themed meetings like our health meeting, Health is Queer Resistance. We have a poetry salon that's once a month. Some regular programming that we do every single month. We move those immediately to virtual meetings, which have been really successful, and have actually allowed people that had trouble coming to the in-person meeting to access that meeting or that event, like the Queer Poetry Salon, which is tonight, actually. If you're looking for something to do this evening, our Queer Poetry Salon is this evening. And then we also started doing some programming, more community building and connection and learning opportunities. So like for Virtual Pride, we invited Michael Weekly, who's a leader from the Phoenix, a big leader in the Phoenix area from several years ago, who now lives in Mexico City and is from Tennessee. He also does comedy, and so we asked Michael if he would be willing to do a comedy show, just to brighten people's days and add something that's some joy to people's experience and that festival type atmosphere that was so beautiful. And thank you all for the work that you did putting that on. It was such a wonderful event. We also do every Thursday, we're partnering with different equality organizations. So Freedom Oklahoma is our main partner. Equality North Carolina will be joining the mix, and some other organizations. We partner with a national organization, and we do an informational town hall. Next week, we're doing a town hall on what the HIV positive community needs from us as organizations and as individuals and community members during this crisis. We'll be talking about elders the week after that. And we've done everything from anti-LGBTQ legislation and understanding why that occurred this legislative session to talking about why we need to ban conversion therapy with the Trevor Project. So we've done a wide range of programming. We'll keep doing those, and we'll probably keep doing those even after we're allowed to go back to, in regular in-person events, because they're so well attended and they're informative, and they help the community sort of understand the scope of issues that face the LGBTQ community and how we can all get involved in them.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And then lastly, I'm going to bring on Joey. Hey, Joey.
Hi. How are you?
I am good. And yourself?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So before I let you go, otherwise I will forget, I just need to state so that this way this can be archived for future use, that you all understand that this is being archived, recorded with the intent of it going to ASU COVID-19 archive, so people will be able to access this in the future. And so I just want everyone to understand that so we can move forward and have a great discussion.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, great. So Joey, so what have you been up to?
So much. You wouldn't think, right? I'm doing more work now than I was before this whole COVID-19 thing happened. So basically, a few weeks ago, someone reached out to me, and he's based out in Los Angeles. His name is Brad Hammer, and he runs Brad Hammer Productions, and he's known to do a lot of music videos for Drag Race girls. He booked a lot of the queens for Christina Aguilera's tour, and so that's how we were connected. And he partnered with GayborhoodPride.com, and together they have created a platform where this is a website that can hold up to 100,000 users logged on at the same time. And they're creating a virtual Pride Fest. Now, they're not just doing this one time. Right now, we have 18 confirmed cities. And the list is going to it just gets longer and longer. And how it works is typically you would purchase a general admission ticket for $6. And with that ticket, it logs you onto this website, and you're gonna have access to different stages to watch local DJs, different stages to watch local drag shows. We have free expo booths that have been offered to a lot of different local nonprofits. All of the local LGBT establishments that we've been able to connect with, they have a booth as well, and they can kind of man that however they want, whether they want to give out deals or specials when they open back up, or they want to have bartenders do something live and their regulars can come in and chat with them in a chat room. And then we also have panels and discussions from really large social media influencers in the LGBT community, such as we have a transgender Olympian and talking about his experiences. And then we also have what it's like to travel as a gay couple with young children, how to be comfortable showing your relationship online. A lot of different panels and discussions. So you can go for entertainment, or you can go for education, or you can go for both. So I'm going to be hosting the entire day, and then at about in the evening session, we have some headliners that we're bringing in, including 3 RuPaul's Drag Race girls. We've got Cynthia Lee Fontaine, we've got Laganja Estranja, we have Gia Gunn. And we're also bringing in Rhea Latre and Aurora Sexton. And then everyone who has that general admission ticket is welcome to come to our global closing party. And I say global because you don't have to, you can get a ticket from anywhere in the world. So how that's gonna work is you can be in your living room hearing the same music that someone else is hearing in Australia. And you can be partying and turn your lights down and turn your party lights on, and you're gonna be able to interact with these people face to face if you wanted to, by allowing your camera. Also, we took away the $6 admission fee for general admission tickets just to bring down all barriers, and we want to get really good momentum. This is our very first city that we're doing this in. So the first 10,000 tickets are free. We have already crossed the 4-digit mark. So if you haven't gotten your ticket already, this is gonna be big. And then we're also gonna be doing a mini parade, because I mean, what's a Pride Fest without a parade, right? Like the iconic thing. So how are we gonna do that? Well, we've offered to all of the bars, if they wanted to be a part of this or not, a little truck that they can decorate, that they can get as hokey or as funny or as little or as much as they want. And then we're gonna film this parade and we're gonna air it.
That's hilarious.
So super excited about that. I know there's been a lot of virtual drag shows, and I've watched a ton of them myself, being a drag queen and wanting to support all my sisters. But a lot of times I find myself leaving the show to look up their Venmo, and then they have a complicated Venmo. And now I got to go back and look at it again and then log out. So now I'm not watching any of the performance, trying to tip $5, $10. This completely eliminates that step. So when you log onto the website, you can put your credit card information, and that website will remember it. So while you're watching whoever's entertaining, whether it's a drag queen, whether it's a local DJ, whether you're visiting a non-profit booth that's there, there's tip jars, and you can just tip on the website and stay on and watch it. You can Comcast it onto your TV, and there you are, just giving all the money that you want.
Nice.
So we're really excited about it. It's the very first one, so I think it's gonna go pretty good. I'm really excited. We did all of our sound tests the last few days, and I'm really excited for this momentum. Lastly, we do have a cocktail of choice sponsor by Corona, ironically. But what they're doing, and we're so grateful for this, is they are donating $5,000, and that $5,000 is going to be distributed amongst all of the entertainment staff in Phoenix, whether that's security guards, drag queens, bartenders, bar owners, bar backs, where we have a list being put together right now. and then they're going to match whatever we match up to another $5,000. So that's $15,000 that will be distributed. And I think we can definitely do more than that. So I hope you all come. I hope you all get your life in your living room with your Pride fan. And I'm so excited.
Great. All right. So let's talk a little about, so what are some of the expectations that you all went into when you decided to say, hey, let's take this virtually? What were some of those expectations that you had doing that?
Absolutely none. It was like totally, like for us, it was totally the unknown. Like, how do we pull this off? Like, is it possible to pull it off? And what will the response be? We were blown away the first week when we had more attendees than we would have in person. I never, ever expected that to happen at all. So, I mean, just kind of expect the unexpected sometimes.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with virtual Pride. I remember thinking maybe over the course of the 2 days we can do like 10 events. Like, we know enough people, in the community, we can, lean on to do this. And one of the big expectations with doing virtual Pride, Joey mentioned the tipping, and that platform sounds great. Like, we didn't have that. It was very, the way we did it was, we were promoting the events. They had their Venmo, and we tried to promote those as much as possible. And our hope was, a few people who wouldn't normally watch this, drag performer or wouldn't know about them would see their show, tip them, help them out. Some people who might not normally know about Equality Arizona or Glisten or some of our nonprofits will check out one of their events and learn about them, maybe shoot a little money their way. And that was pretty much it, like hoping that we could, help all these performers and organizations that were already going online and help, broaden their audience a little bit. And I think we did that way beyond what I was expecting.
I think for us, the Social Distancing Hotline, the only thing that we really truly expected was adventure. We came on and decided to do this as a nightly thing. This is something that we've done every single night for the last 45 days. We decided to take Sundays off because that's self-care Sunday. We all need that and to kind of just get away from social media. But we expected the adventure, and we expected to learn something new every single day, and we expected to connect with people, and that's exactly what we got. And expected to have a lot of fun. And so that's kind of been that's been the baseline for everything that we've done. And so, and where it's gone now, and the resource that it's becoming is this truly, that's the unexpected and the thing that we're now living for. So, yeah.
I think the same for us. Our expectations were really that we would learn some new things, hopefully be able to connect with our community in a new way, and open ourselves up to a kind of creativity that sometimes nonprofits don't allow themselves to experiment with, right? We're always trying to use our dollars, because they come from the community largely, to the maximum amount of benefit for the community. And the benefit with this going online is that we've got a lot more flexibility and a lot more ability to be creative and spontaneous and to partner with all sorts of new organizations. We've got all kinds of national partners working with us and other state equality groups that normally wouldn't have worked with us because we're Arizona specific. So now, because the events aren't just in Arizona, they're online, we're able to actually really enrich the conversation that we're having and enrich the events that we're doing with these really wonderful partners.
I didn't really know what to expect. I feel like we're all kind of in some unknown territory right now. And I kind of had to be sold the idea myself before I was able to sell this idea to somebody else. And I know that in the beginning, you mentioned earlier, this is day 45 into our quarantine right now. So maybe 3 weeks ago is when I got involved with this. And so there's still people that they're coasting and they're doing good and they feel good and they're working from home. They're in their pajamas. I'm like, we might feel good right now, but how long is this going to last? I feel like give it another 2 weeks, people are going to be looking for something or some positivity or some light or something to look forward to distract them from whatever they have going on. And it was some slow momentum getting here, but I think we have exceeded our expectations and have so much momentum moving forward. And I'm just kind of trying to ride that right now and just gain as much as I can, because we already have 18 cities confirmed. There are still Pride Fests that aren't canceled yet. And we don't have any in those cities that have Pride Fests still, because we're not here to compete with anybody. But I have a feeling, this might go a little bit longer than we're anticipating. So just fingers crossed and a positive attitude, and we're just going to take what's coming.
Joey, to that point of this lasting longer, we're really preparing for how do we do our election work in this remote way, right? How do we get our community who, if this COVID crisis has taught us anything, it's that our government as it is today is not prepared to meet the needs of the American people. And that means all of us have to step up and do something about that. And so how do we do that work with everyone virtually? That's really, a big part of what we're trying to figure out, and how we're trying to build our programming in, like you said, to prepare for the long haul here, right? Just in case.
To speak on this, the idea of, how long is this going to go? What's interesting is that, so throughout this process, we've become kind of like COVID-19. I don't want to say experts. I don't want to put that label on me, but we definitely are well versed in COVID-19. We're looking up different articles and we feature them on our show every single night. Tonight's show is actually about the government being opened again, and how I guess Trump, I'm not trying to get political by any means, but there was a statement put out that states can, open when in these guidelines. California is set to open May 15th. So what's interesting is that, how long will this go? They're trying to end it really quickly. And so, but my question is like, what are we doing now, and how are we going to continue what we're doing now into the new normal and make this the new normal? Because the engagement and the ability to, and your reach is much farther doing it this way, doing these virtual shows. So it's not necessarily about, in my personal opinion, my humble opinion, it's not about, when will this end? It's what are we going to do with this newfound knowledge, and how are we going to use this to make our lives simpler and to connect with more people? So I think that's a, as far as I'm concerned, a better conversation or a better reality to kind of get used to,
Well, I mean, someone mentioned, go ahead, David, sorry.
We've been thinking about that too, and it's also, and again, not to get into all the politics and the plans that are being announced, but it's not going to be like a switch is flipped and things go back to normal.
Bingo.
So even if other things are opening up, like with Drag Story Hour, it's probably going to be a while before we do in-person events, just because we want to be extra cautious. We don't want to, have any issues like that. So we're going to be online for a while. We're going to be doing, live streaming that stuff for a while. And a lot of organizations are going to be like that. And then, as we come back into doing live events, I think we have to start thinking about how they're going to also be, have some sort of online component. I think, people already mentioned that. We got so much feedback with Virtual Pride from people who were excited because they wouldn't have been able to go to in-person Pride anyway, because they live in a rural area, because of, disability. We have a lot of, especially our, with what I do with Drag Story Hour, the LGBT youth is a big issue with me. Our youth who live in, in unsupportive homes, who can't go to Pride. We have people, taking part in Virtual Pride. So we have to, think about how to take what we're doing now, take the, advantages that it gives us, and make that a permanent thing going forward.
Right. I mean, I think that's one of the things I'm really seeing is just the inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kind of across the board of people who wouldn't normally be able to get to a brick and mortar physical location can now just click on a button. If they're in an unsupportive environment, they can click on. If they're just unable to get to a certain place, they can still participate.
People who have mental illnesses, who are dealing with things that they have, like they can't be around a ton of people. They can still be included now. Inclusion,
right, exactly. Or people who are disabled and haven't. I mean, it's like I have one friend who was in a hacker group chatting, and one of the people in the group hadn't left his house in 2 years because he can't.
Right.
But he was able to be a part of this group. So I think it's bringing in a whole new way to reach out to people that can include them in different ways.
Major.
So I think that'll be one of the lasting effects of this. Some of you have talked about just the technology and kind of that learning. So, I mean, if you had told me a month ago that today I would be hosting a virtual chat with 5 other people, I would be like, you're crazy. I have no idea how to do that. But look at here I am doing it. So let's talk a little bit about how did you go from that ground zero to what you're doing?
I'm gonna go ahead and start this one because honestly, I got into podcasting about 2 years ago, and I've looked at some other big podcast people out there and how they have their shows, and I've looked at YouTube shows. And again, like I said before, I'm an entertainer. I want to be on TV. I love the sound of my own voice, and so I've always wanted to get into this field. And so what's interesting about all this is that because of COVID-19, I was able to truly not focus on the business that we're starting for our entertainment company, doing weddings and stuff, but to truly get into like the podcast virtual world. And I've learned things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm competing with the big boys now. Like this whole setup that I have right now, the reason why the sound sounds good is because of the learnings and stuff that I've done in this last 45 days. And it's like, okay, man, I know what to do now, and I know how to take this to the next level. So, my education of social media and how to kind of make an impact and to scale, that's the big thing right there, is just it's night and day. Absolutely.
For us, we more than 2 years ago, I was doing something called Ignite Live when I was with Southwest Center for HIV/AIDS, and luckily, I had kind of already gotten like my feet wet just a little in as far as like how to host a broadcast. And by no means was I like a host, but it's just kind of the work. When you're a nonprofit, you wear all the hats. So, but when this all started, I didn't have a webcam except for what was stuck on my laptop, and so it turned out, like, as people started working from home more and more, webcams were like the business equivalent of toilet paper. Like, they were impossible to find. And
oh my gosh!
Like, seriously, we couldn't get anything from Amazon. My partner Jason called like 20 stores, just going from Staples to Staples to Staples. And he finally found a cheap $20 webcam, and he went up to see if they had a better one. And as soon as he held it up, she was like, "That's the last one." And so, I mean, that's like, and so that's literally we're working off of a $20 webcam that we were able to finally get. And so it was just it was tough finding things, and a sharp learning curve too, and kind of experimenting each week to try to improve week over week.
Yeah, it's just been like on the Drag Story Hour side, this was not an ideal way for us to do our intern to live streaming. Because we have our performers, they're streaming from their house, and we're having to communicate with them all strictly online. We weren't able to go and set up a webcam, fancy webcam setup with them or run through it or anything. And it's been hit or miss on some we've done. We had a technical issue with one of the ones we did for Virtual Pride. And so, yeah, it's just been a lot of like trial and error. And now that we are, starting to think more long term, it's exciting to start thinking about, okay, how do we actually do this right? Like, we did it, like to the minimum, capability that we could, but how do we actually get better at it now?
I wouldn't say I'm a tech savvy person by any means at all, but in the last couple of weeks, I've learned so much, and I'm kind of using COVID-19 as an excuse to ask questions. Like, if I don't know about it, and maybe I might be self-conscious about asking a question that might be silly, even though, we can all get over that, but it exists. But now I'm like, I want to do that much better of a job with my work and communicating. What are you doing right now? Or how do you do this on your phone? And then I go, oh gosh, I got that one out. Now I know that. But people are a lot more open-minded right now, and everyone is just kind of working with what they have and what's been thrown at them. And I feel like even at my own job, like the community there has gotten a lot closer with my own clients, because like we're all in this together. So there's no one person better than another. There shouldn't be, you know what I mean? And I think this is the perfect example to kind of have a humbling moment for everybody, and let's just help each other out. So.
For real.
Yeah, the one good thing that crisis often brings, right, is a sense of community, and we're in it together. And we've really seen that a lot with the organizations that have been ready to partner with us, folks helping us with technology. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm lost when it comes to technology these days. It outpaced me several years ago, and so I don't know what I would do without my team and without people willing to help and jump in. It's made a big difference.
One thing that I think is really important to understand too about this whole technology and the learning curve piece is that, you cannot compare your day one to someone else's 45 or someone else's 60, because you just haven't gotten to that threshold yet. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it or that you won't do it. It's just that you haven't gotten there yet. And so, definitely make mistakes, reach out and ask for help, and then just make mistakes, just fail, get used to failing, because every time you fail, you now know, and you're that much more prepared and more skilled for the next time you do it. And so just start making mistakes, guys. It's the best thing to do.
Well, I think that's part of just the learning process of not making, we could have all waited till we had everything perfected. That would have been 6 weeks from now, and it would have been great.
Right.
But I like what David said. It's like, how can we do this better? So that's one of the questions. Like, so with what you're all doing, it's like, what changes or what things would you like to do differently as things go on?
So I'll start, because just before this broadcast, I was looking for different new microphones, like trying to find a microphone. So Kelvin, I'm like in total envy of what you got set up, because I know like our room is like very echoey, and so like it's kind of a challenge right now. So I think like I'm in for a day of YouTube videos ahead of me of trying to learn, look for products and stuff like that. Like I think we just have to be really humble. And as we make mistakes or as we're learning, or sorry, like my sound sounds like crap, but be okay with that. For me, like just seeing someone's face right now is important, and that means a lot. And so it doesn't matter if it's perfect. Just seeing people is good stuff. And we're lucky we have our Lothria team is like incredible. They're incredibly adaptive. They're all in. They're like let's do this. And they kind of flew in blind, trusted us, and it's just important that we're able to roll with the punches right now and keep learning as we go.
Yeah, to me, that was one of the things I really liked about the Virtual Pride is we had Felicia Minor and Freddie Prinze Charming did an episode of their Let's Have a Fifi show, which they've literally been doing for 6 years. So it was a very high quality, professional production. And then we had people doing literally like their first live stream ever, and everything in between. And I think everyone, understood that, and was, willing to roll with the punches when we had technical problems and stuff like that. And it was just, it did kind of, in a way, kind of even build the sense of community even more. Like we're kind of in this together and figuring it out together. And going forward, I think one thing I've heard is like the variety of things that you can do online. I had a lot of people talking about, things like the history presentation, Marshall, that you did, some of the educational events, things like that either aren't usually at a typical in-person Pride festival, and I know you've done some of Pride in the past. People, there are a lot of people that are introduced to you for the first time, and so really thinking about what are the things that that we can do, the advantages that this gives us that you couldn't do in person.
So let's talk about kind of the emotions that you feel that you can see the community going through, as well as yourselves, from kind of the beginning of this to this point. There's been so many emotions. It's like so many folks are having ups and down days, but I think really that support that we're all kind of gathering from this community building. Joey, earlier when we were chatting, you had said, we're gays. We're gonna find community where we go. And that's one of the things I love. That's such a positive. I'm connecting with so many other people that I might have known more almost tangentially, but now have started developing those conversations at a completely different level. So let's talk a little bit about that inclusion, or the fact that we're able to now open ourselves up to other people than just our immediate circle.
So just really quickly, I would like to start with this one. I'm going to be the odd man out. I'm going to be the odd man out, in that our show is not a gay show. Our show is not it's not an LGBTQ plus show. It's not. And though I appreciate the inclusion on this, my husband and I, we are absolutely two gay males, but our show is and of the community. And I think on the flip side, it's about, I just think that, it's truly about, hearing people's voices, because what we all are experiencing and where we all are connected is COVID-19. in whatever way, shape, or form, we're all connected via COVID-19. And so our show and our platform is just truly about connecting people. And we've talked to people from we talked to people from Alaska, from New York, from freaking Ukraine, to Texas. I mean, it's really interesting the phone calls that we've gotten from all over the state and the world. Really, truly. I mean, we've had one out of the United States, and we were really excited about that. But the overall feeling is that we're all in this together, and everybody's experiencing it in some sort of way. And people are just like, you know, the word that I chose for 2020 and that I've heard a lot of in the different podcasts I listen to is navigate. And I think it's all about how we are navigating through 2020. And the thing about it is that as long as you are navigating, you're doing what you need to be doing. You know what I mean? Because we have to keep going. And so the overall feeling from my perspective, from our platform, is that community is what truly matters, and relating to each other is what is getting people by. Knowing that other people are going through the same thing that they're going through, have just lost their job, are out of unemployment, are worried about where they're going to, get the next piece of toilet paper. We're all worried about the same things, and it doesn't matter what income you're at. It honestly does. I mean, we're all affected in some way, shape, or form. And so, the community is the overall feeling that my listeners are, that our listeners are, exuding, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing. Like, I definitely heard that from people. As much as they enjoyed the individual programming at Virtual Pride, just the sense of community, being able to connect with, people they already know but haven't been able to see in person in a while, meeting new people, and there was a lot of it. Marshall, as you mentioned, it was very intergenerational. There was a lot of, we talk about the LGBT community, but it's actually a lot of small communities, that don't always, interact with each other. And there was a good amount of, I think, circles, starting to intersect that, typically wouldn't. And so thinking that's a great, advantage that we have now. And yeah, it's strange. It's definitely, in a way, feeling, at least for myself, speaking personally, feeling more connected, even though I haven't actually spoken to anyone, in person, in 6 weeks now.
Right.
I'm finding myself meeting a lot of people that I would never even talk to. What I'm excited about having all of these virtual Pride Fests is I've never been to New York Pride. I've never been to World Pride. There's so many, I've been to a pretty decent amount, but there are so many cities that I haven't been to. And social media already has been able to, I am fans of so many drag queens from all these cities that maybe one day I'll be able to meet, or work with. And I'll like every picture that they post because I'm just in awe. But now I'm actually going to be able to watch a show live with the local entertainment from all of these different cities and kind of have a more closer moment, especially if I'm able to potentially interact with them from screen to screen. I know one of the things that we're looking into is meet and greets. We have all these celebrities and no one is doing anything right now. No one can film any TV shows, music videos, movies. No movies are coming out in movie theaters because no one can watch it. And so what are these celebrities doing? They're probably just sitting on the couch, and they're going to, maybe this opportunity might be off and they're going to go, oh my gosh, I would love to go on Skype with a fan. So I'm just or even nonprofits. I have worked a little bit with nonprofits, but I don't do a whole lot of volunteer work myself. I have a little bit, but right now I'm meeting so many people from nonprofits that I've never heard of. I'm starting to work with people organizations that I've never worked with before. And to just have this be the first one, I'm excited. Virtually, I can do so much more than I would in person.
We've really seen that happening. So many folks, it's very hard to take physical time away from your life and then go to a nonprofit and do something. It's so much easier for our volunteers and for so many new volunteers who are calling us and saying, hey, I've got extra time. What do you need from me? Do you need a graphic designer? Do you need some website help? Do you need me to make some calls? Do you need database help? It's been a great opportunity for us to actually be able to interact with our community without any barriers or obstacles, right? And to really just meet people where they're at, regardless of geography, identity, anything like that, and to really cultivate and create spaces where we can all come together and get to know people that we probably are never going to interact with in person or had never interacted with in person before. But through this, we get that opportunity to really build relationships. And that's the building block of community, right? Is building relationships with people.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that Andrew with the T Phoenix over at Southwest Center has been doing a weekly movie night on Netflix Party. And so I've been able to join in those, and those are a lot of fun. And that is so intergenerational. I mean, it's so great to have people from so many different perspectives chiming in with their point of view and everything else. And so with that, do you find the LGBT community having specific needs that are addressed through this kind of new community building?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, the community certainly has a lot of unique needs. We've been doing a lot of informational sessions. We just did one yesterday with the Transgender Legal Defense and Education Fund, and they put out a Know Your Rights guide that they update constantly. That's good, not just for trans folks, but for LGBTQ people in general. It has information about if you go to a hospital or an ER or a doctor and they refuse to help you, what can you do? Like, how do you be an advocate? How do you bring an advocate even virtually with you so that you've got someone else there, even if they can't be there in person? So we've been doing some sort of just basic, like, how do we get through this as LGBTQ people when we experience a lot of discrimination in life? We've all experienced someone being cruel, unkind, or harmful to us in some way because we're LGBTQ. And in this situation, that can be life-threatening, right, depending on the setting. And so we also discussed things like how to delay your mortgage, how to delay your student loans, like, just sort of like nuts and bolts things, that are helping people get through this really difficult time, which you can watch that video on Facebook. But we're just trying to do lots of stuff like that to meet sort of any number of needs that folks have. We also have a community resource network that we're working with. So if you need help paying your rent, if you need help, if you need food, if you need toilet paper, if you need anything like that, you can actually go to equalityarizona.org and you can write in the Get Help or the Give Help form if you have something to donate or something to give to someone, because we're trying to connect people and meet all the needs of our community that we can possibly meet. So.
Go ahead.
We're getting ready on Wednesday. We're going to kick off our second show. We're a chain, so like it's going to be called Ripple Briefs, like a 2-minute news segment kind of show where to just kind of go through things like condoms, PrEP. A lot of like some of those things right now, like PrEP, it's super important, but a lot of people aren't having sex right now. So we're getting a lot of questions of, should I stop taking it for a little bit, or kind of what should I be doing while I'm quarantined and just sitting in the house for potentially months? And so we're kind of gearing that news towards like what's happening now. If you just lost your insurance, how to access, you're going to be needing to access Ryan White services if you're living with HIV. And that process is going to be completely different than just flashing your insurance card from the job that you just lost. So I think like kind of meeting the needs of, we can talk about HIV prevention things, but a lot of the things that we were talking about a couple of months ago about people that were meeting each other and hooking up in a bar, just really aren't relevant. So we've had to kind of change, like, what is that conversation right now? Like, is PrEP more of an education for now and action later? And what types of things are more of a now thing? So how can we educate for later, and how can we address things now? So, which is totally different.
For us, for the social distancing hotline, what we have is so every day we're posting articles and stuff on different resources that people may need that are affected by the pandemic. One of the bigger conversations that we've had recently is, when am I going to get my stimulus check? What's the amount going to be? How do I go through it if I didn't file taxes, if I didn't make any income last year? So there's also we have like job portals. So we have access to a Google document that was created by the community of over 1,000 jobs that people can apply for now, and they are all work from home jobs. It's incredible. This list is just like, it literally goes on and on and on. And it's from companies all over the world that are hiring people to do what everybody's doing right now. So if you were just laid off, you can spend some time, updating the resume, doing all that stuff, and getting that going. We also have a Distant But Social Facebook group. It's called Distant But Social. And on there, we feature topics every single day that people can just kind of, again, keep that engagement up, keep that communication, keep that, that connection up, and talk about different things. We talk about Money Mondays, where we talk about what people should be doing with their finances. We've had different, financial advisors and bankers call in and say, hey, you're going to get the stimulus check. This is what you could do, and this is what you might not need to do. But again, it's all about meeting people where they're at, and and truly having an impact on people who've been heavily impacted via COVID-19. So
yeah, I think it's just important to realize LGBT people, especially LGBT people of color, disproportionately live in poverty. They have, we have, healthcare needs that are often, very specific. You mentioned like PrEP, or whether it's, access to hormones. And I just actually read a statistic from HRC, which I didn't know before, but which makes a lot of sense. LGBT people are overrepresented in the hospitality and service industries, which have been, particularly hard hit. So, there's all these ways where LGBT people are dealing with the same set of problems that everyone else is, but also they are specifically acute, for a lot of members of our community. And so I think Quality Arizona has started, Relief Fund. 1 in 10 has started a fund, for their LGBT youth. Trans Queer Pueblo has started a relief fund. I think it's really important if we're in the position, we're, able to support things like that. Really look for things to support, the community specifically, and the, parts of our community that are particularly hard hit.
I think what you brought up earlier about the medication, that was something that I'd never even thought about, because, I take PrEP. I just switched over to Descovy recently, and I'm not sexually active right now, and I'm like, I never even thought about that. It's just routine, I wake up in the morning and I take it. But then, if I don't need to use that, maybe could those pills go to somebody else? For maybe someone who doesn't have insurance later on? They're just what you said just sparked ideas that I haven't thought about yet. So thank you.
Yeah.
So what do you think the lasting effects of this big push of so many people going virtual, so much community building on, what do you think the long tail effect of this will be?
We may never see each other again.
we become an episode of Black Mirror or Dark Mirror, whatever that's called. Yeah. I think here's what I would say to that is that I think it depends on which side of growth you want to be on. And I think it's all about understanding that what's happening right now, I forget who says that, the revolution will be televised. And here we are. We are doing shows. We're connecting with more people. We are reaching more people and having a bigger impact on the world by staying home and going virtual, and I think that there's something to be said about that. And to go back to the old ways, yeah, sure, neat, awesome. You can absolutely do that. There's no judgment there, but you could also do bigger and just keep going. So I think it just depends on the work you want to put into the next thing. Because there's going to be, I'm keeping going. There's no way my show as it is right now is going to be something completely different 6 months from now, and it's going to be because of the momentum that started via COVID-19. So.
Well, one thing
I think it's going to really help a lot of people in the workplace. Like right now, my current job is work from home. And, I've actually I'm going to apologize in advance. I've been asking to work from home for a year. So I'm sorry that I put this entire burden on the whole world. Now here we are. But my company, they were all about camaraderie in the office. And I think that's really positive. But if you look at all of these successful startups and these companies, just with a much younger audience and younger clientele and younger employees, I feel like that mindset is all about being efficient. And, we don't talk about, what is it, I don't remember, but like when you're just meeting someone, having a conversation in the kitchen, you know what I mean? Like I FaceTime with all of my my coworkers, and we have Skype meetings and Zoom meetings, and a lot of us are finding that we're much more efficient because we can kind of do things on our own terms as long as we're just getting that job done. And the CEO of the company that I worked for just said yesterday in a Zoom meeting with 200 of us, saying if we were to ask him 3 months ago if he would have faith in us, like working from home, he would say no, but look what we're doing. And I think that is going to be very healthy for the economy. I think it's going to be very healthy for me. I can tell you how much money I'm saving on gas, you know, how much money they're probably saving on, like, how many times is a staff member going to flush a toilet in an office, open up a refrigerator, if there's a Keurig, how many K-cups a month does the company spend? Just all these little perks, it all adds up. And people here, we're learning how to cook, you know, we're finding new hobbies, we're learning new, I thought I was an extrovert, sis, I am an introvert. I am living, closing my door. I don't have to cancel plans because I don't want to go.
Speak that truth, baby. Speak that truth.
So I think it's actually going to be really healthy experiencing all of this, because now we're putting all of this time and energy into how to do things virtually. And then when it does get back to normal, we're going to have all that knowledge that we can apply. So, like, who knows where we're going to go, but I think it's going to be great.
No, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, but on the flip side too, this is also showing us how the in-person, you know, connections and events are also important. I don't think any of us want to do this for the rest of our life, only doing Zoom meetings. You know, we want to be able to go to Pride and go to the parade and stuff like that. But I think we'll be more deliberate about the in-person events and think about, like, what we want to do in person and how we can also then complement that with, you know, the online elements and things like that, and try to reach those audiences that can't make it in person, like we were talking about earlier. So I think it'll make us more aware of, you know, how we organize and exist in different spaces.
Can I ask an off-topic question to Joey? It's on topic, but it's kind
of
what I'm curious about is, because you said you do drag, right?
Yeah.
Have you done a live drag show yet, and did, like, the whole Venmo tipping thing for yourself?
I've done one.
Yeah.
And I was really apprehensive about it.
So my question is that, you know, because I've seen a lot of drag queens doing this, and, you know, typically drag queens are doing their shows at the bars where people are at, and that's how they get the tip money, and they do all that stuff, right? I did a little bit of drag, but that's from what I gathered. And so, you know, my curiosity is that, from a drag queen perspective, why do you need the bar if you can have your audience just watch you directly? So I'm curious as to how it may change the drag world, because there's a lot of drag queens that are saying, hey man, I did the show in my garage and I made more money than the bar and I didn't have to tip anybody. You know what I mean? So I'm just curious about that, you know, and I don't mean to hijack the thing here, but you know, I'm curious about.
You know, I think it's still kind of unknown territory. And in the last few weeks, I have definitely witnessed virtual shows really up their game. I'm seeing green screens, and I'm seeing people with cameras in different rooms. And let me be honest with you. I did a show last week. It was my very first virtual one, and I was apprehensive, but we were celebrating our 3-year anniversary for the foursome show at Cobalt. And so I'm like, let's do it. It'll be great. One, we were able to start an hour and a half sooner. We didn't have to start at 10:30. We started at 9. 2, I was in bed before 11 and I had made more money from a normal show. And I was like, I think we should do this again. And there was no, like, wrong bachelorette party that I had to step over to get to the bartender. I didn't have to wait in line for any drinks. I have my own bar.
Come on now.
I was like, oh my gosh. The only thing that was missing was, like, being able to hug my friends or have that moment and grab that dollar from somebody or joke around in person. But I was like, oh my gosh, like, we got in and out of the show. We all made bank. We had more of an audience than before. I'm really excited to see, like if I were to close my eyes and open them and we're 2 months from now, I'm just curious to see what it is.
My husband's in love with you, by the way. He's jealous that I'm on the show, and he's not. He loves you.
Where is he?
He's working in his office in the back, but he sent me a text. He's like, "Oh man, he's on. He's my favorite drag queen."
Oh my god, that's so funny. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have to say, as an old man as well, like drag shows starting before 10 p.m. I love
that. Wow. So one last question while I have you all here. So I love the idea of doing this panel. What other panels would you like to see done? Kind of throwing that out there, just because it's like, I love the idea of kind of using this method to build community and create awareness and knowledge and educate folks.
If it's okay, I want to start with one. I think this, with the political climate right now and COVID-19, I think it's really putting, kind of like what we said earlier, no person should be better than another person. It doesn't matter how much money you have or where you came from. And I think that this COVID-19 situation has really been a humbling moment for everybody. And toilet paper to this person and toilet paper to this person is the same toilet paper. And I am worried for a lot of different states or a lot of different laws. How are we going to be voting? Some states can do mail-in. Some states you can only do mail-in ballots if you have a specific reason and it has to be approved. What if it's not postmarked in time, but actually the things a year ago, so that law was never updated? I think it'd be really great if there was a panel that talked about like politics and if you wanted to vote, the ways that you can do it. Or questions on something that people could go to and know that they can trust the source rather than just the Facebook feed.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I know Michael mentioned that earlier. That's the next thing we have to start thinking about now that we've like got past the adjusting to social distancing, as we've got an election happening, and what that's going to look like is all up in the air and kind of terrifying. As far as how much is unknown about that. But also, yeah, I mean, something we talk about a lot with Virtual Pride is we did it to replace Phoenix Pride or to take over that. Put something on that weekend, but then we quickly changed the name because it's online. We don't have to be Phoenix anymore. We could open up to the whole state, especially with this online format. I would love to be able to take advantage of that and talk to people outside of the metro areas, bring people together from different parts of the state, talk about communities there, the history of the communities there, things like that. I think that'd be a really great affordance that we have on this platform.
I would just say, this is a new medium, and this is and there are big time people doing these things, doing these live shows, and they do them every single day. And they're big YouTube stars. I think there's just such a power in being able to provide a space for people to have a voice. And I think if you are going to continue to do these shows, Marshall, you're always on the forefront of doing innovative things. Just keep pushing the envelope, keep making people uncomfortable. That's the best thing that I would do, and invite people to be vulnerable and make people uncomfortable, because I think that these types of shows, they're from real people. And I think that as long as you keep that as your bottom line and as your goal, I think anything you do is going to be fantastic. So keep it going, baby.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no,
Thank you very much.
I'm so impressed that I think in a lot of ways I felt Arizona was at the forefront of this. And so I was so impressed with what Kelvin's doing, Virtual Pride put together. Seeing Michael and seeing what all Equality Arizona is doing, and then it's like, and then I can jump on and go play Loteria.
Hello.
So I love the diversity of things I'm able to get access to.
Yeah.
And so that's why I want to put this together, because it's like, let's share and let's celebrate ourselves, because we are doing one hell of a great job.
Come on now.
Of stepping up and saying, Arizona, let's make it better.
And have a little fun while we're at it. You know what I'm saying?
But now it comes to all borders and beyond that. So.
And Marshall, I think Arizona's always been, sort of at the forefront of the LGBTQ community and innovating what that community looks like, because we live in a red state, right? And so we don't have the benefit of living in New York or San Francisco, where we've always, where people have been able to live out and open lives in ways that we weren't always able to here. And so, we've always been on that innovative edge of creating community together. And so, something that I always want to hear about is history, and something that I love talking about with you, Marshall, is the amazing history of Arizona and our community in specific.
Timing and innovation is everything. And timing right now is so weird because everything changes week to week. So but I think the fact that we're willing to dive in and try some stuff out and be vulnerable, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Let's keep moving and just try new things together. Let's succeed and challenge ourselves together.
All right. Well, again, thank you all so much for participating in this. Look forward to connecting with all of you kind of offline and chatting even further and kind of developing those networks as we all move forward and just making things better for however long we're in this and whatever amazing things come out of this. That's what I'm really focusing on.
Yeah.
If I may,
Thank you so much,
Hotline tonight, guys, 9:00 every single night. Tonight's all about Fun Friday when we want to know what's going on. So I'd love to hear from all you guys tonight. It's at 9:00, Social Distancing Hotline. Love to see you guys.
All right.
And then I don't think I ever said how anyone can get tickets for this for tomorrow's for Gayborhood Pride. If you just go to www.gayborhoodpride.com, the window will pull up and say every city that we have so far, and there should be Phoenix is right at the top. Otherwise, a window will pop out automatically, and it'll give you the link and set you right up.
Great. And Michael, how do people find out about all the great offerings from Equality Arizona?
You can go to equalityarizona.org. We have a calendar of events right there when you open the very front webpage. You can also go to our Facebook. We've got an event, a separate Facebook event for every single thing that we're doing. So we hope that you'll join us. There's going to be a lot moving forward. So come and find out what we're doing. Also, just a quick note, Joey, in Arizona, we have permanent early voter list here. So if you're worried about voting by mail, we have the amazing privilege of already having that system here in Arizona.
I've been putting in my ballots from my bed.
It's the only way.
I love that. But I know back home, I'm from Wisconsin, and you have to have a proved reason, and I didn't know that.
Right. Exactly. So many states have a challenge right now with voting, but here in Arizona, sign up for PEVL.
I love it. It's the best.
Have a challenge. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then, Jeremy, how do people get a chance to maybe win an amazing prize with Loteria?
So, both of our live streaming shows will be on Facebook platforms for RipplePHX, and then they'll also have supplemental information and content on our website, which is ripplephx.org. You can follow the links for either Loteria or Ripple Briefs, and they'll both will be in Spanish and English. So,
all right.
Virtual AZ Pride. We have our Facebook and Instagram. You can follow us there. We're talking about what we're going to do next. We're planning some stuff. So Virtual AZ Pride on Instagram, Facebook, virtualazpride.org.
All right. Very good. So thank you all so much for joining us for this conversation. And I look forward to letting the conversation continue. Have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you to all those folks out there listening or watching us. Thank you so much for participating as well. Again, this will be archived via Facebook as well as on YouTube as well as now it looks like probably with ASU and the COVID-19 archive. So very excited about that. So thank you all so much and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Marshall.
Thank you.